All right, now we're
I'm gonna call a meeting to order and take attendance.
see Giebert, Knorr, West, and Bach Huber.
Yeah, not a member.
Not a member yet.
Not a member. Sorry,
Or maybe, sorry.
just here for fun. Just here for fun, I mean, fun. Yeah.
So we do have a quorum. We're still one member short.
This fun.
Grace Wilkinson, I know is not coming. Anticipating. Not to be here, so she must just. be on a little-
She's on virtual.
She is, and I see Haniro virtually.
Where do you see that?
Where?
Oh,
Here.
Oh,
look at that. Unmute her.
She's unmuted.
I'm not muted. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, the first item of business then is approval of the minutes from June 19th.
I'll move approval.
Second,
All in favor of approval?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. First item of business then,
Committee appointments.
do you want me to talk about it?
Guys, maybe we can just get to the bottom line. The bottom line is if,
Yeah. I
if
need-
if Landon. If
What-
LNO, CLC have appointed person to here, that person serves and is a voting member.
Yes,
Okay,
which means I need to resign from this committee
Yes.
as a committee member because I am representing CLC. as
but you're
their
still a voting
appointee,
member on this commission, on this,
Which
regardless.
I'll still be a voting member. I just,
yeah.
I'm
you're
on here right
representing-
now twice and
I
I
get
need to
that.
resign.
So it doesn't, so I agree, so I'm just, so I understand this, I agree, it doesn't make, so why would we reciprocate and appoint someone to CLC?
We don't,
We're not.
we're not.
It says recommends no appointment from WRM SWC to CLC.
Right.
That's the recommendation,
Yes.
and that's what I would support. But if we don't recommend that, then we do have to appoint someone?
No.
It's deleting
It
the
just,
appointment from water resources.
when this was communicated to LNO from both this committee and CLC, it just, they got confused, so they asked us for clarification.
Yeah.
So we're really just clarifying.
I.
So can we just make a motion to approve the recommendation?
I don't even know if we need that. CLC sent it to LNO
Lisa?
Lisa?
and
Well, I was just gonna say, it sounded to me like LNO was confused about the request. So it sounds like maybe we need to request that LNO approve an ordinance change to delete from our ordinance, 2.161B. That would remove the liaison from this committee to CLC. And then it's really up to CLC. Obviously, we need to have a change to their part of the ordinance to increase the number of mayoral appointees to 4. And it's up to them if they want to recommend someone with specific expertise, or I know there's not an official representative of the Friends
I update from
on there, maybe
CLC.
that's something, but that would be for the CLC. What was that?
Can I update from CLC? CLC has nominated me as a CLC member to attend here. The other thing that needs, so that needs to go in their ordinance. The other thing that needs to go in the ordinance is they would like to delete a citizen member, so they will now have an odd number of members. And for here, I need to simply resign as the citizen member. And
So that
nothing needs to be
CLC
changed
took
about
a
ours.
formal vote to appoint you to this commission before the ordinance allowed that to happen?
The ordinance had
that was
already gone
always there.
through.
Oh, all right, I'm hearing different stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no need to change the ordinance with regard to a CLC representative coming to this
All
body.
right, all right, fine,
Yeah.
great,
So it's just me resign from here
okay,
as the citizen member.
right.
And then CLC would like to change their designation, that they will be designating a person from CLC to come here, which they've already elected me to do that. And because when they added a student member to CLC, at the former mayor's request, they had 8 members, so they would like to simply delete a member so that they now have 7 voting members.
That's not a.
And that's not it, but that's the whole
That's
explanation.
nothing to do with our business here, I guess.
So all we have to do is approve you resigning from here? Or we don't have to do anything?
You don't have to do anything. I just need to call Lori and say I've resigned.
LNO asked for clarification from both us and CLC, so I would like if somebody made a
I-
motion or directs me to refer back to them that
I will direct you to refer back to them that I will be resigning as the citizen member. And that will leave a citizen vacancy on water resources that needs to be filled.
you're okay with no appointment from this committee to CLC.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
And
Is that part of the motion then?
Yes.
Lisa?
well, I was just I mean, I get the need for a resignation to be filed with Lori Burns and the mayor so that we can get another member. I don't see that that's the committee's responsibility or the commission's responsibility. I would move that we request that LNO approve an ordinance change to delete 2.161B. That would remove the liaison from this commission to the CLC.
That would work also.
That will
And
work.
it seems like something that both,
The
that
bigger,
both-
longer
both committees-
explanation helps LNO though, understand the complications of it.
So are you making that as a motion, Lisa?
that's my motion. Yep, I move that we request that LNO approve an ordinance change to delete 2.161B from the Middleton Municipal Code.
Are you moving your motion then, Susan, or are you gonna keep that too?
I think LNO needs to fully understand everything as to what's going on, and I don't think they've gotten a clear explanation. So what I made would give them a clear explanation. And that involves both committees, but
So,
Okay, so let's go on Lisa's first.
can you just say Lisa's motion and direct staff to clarify
yeah, the information that
the
I gave.
information between us and friendly amendment, Lisa?
Well, technically, I haven't had a second yet to my motion. And
I'll second that motion.
Okay,
With a
Jim,
friendly amendment.
And technically, there are no friendly amendments. It's
Oh.
an actual motion to amend a motion. I would suggest we vote on this one and then take up another one, take up the one Susan made separately.
Okay, so you're seconding Lisa's with no friendly.
Yeah. we can move the-
All in favor?
I-
Aye.
Eric,
Opposed?
you got this figured out, written down at least?
Rich does.
Rich just,
We got a recording too, so we're.
all right,
Okay, then we're into Susan's
all right.
motion.
That we provide LNO with information about the membership of Water Resources. That with the appointment of a member of CLC to Water Resources, we no longer need to appoint someone to CLC. And that the current,
Who's we in there?
we is Water Resources, Management Commission. Or those guys, well, they're doing it on behalf of us.
Okay.
And that the current member that was appointed from Water Resources to CLC is Susan West, and she will be resigning from that
No,
position.
that's not correct.
Yeah.
You're a
Yep.
direct citizen appointment to this committee, and that's what you need to resign.
Okay,
How about if you just leave it as
Yeah.
staff will.
Right.
staff, you
Figure this
understand
out.
what it is, yeah.
Good.
You know,
You wanna make a motion to direct staff to clarify
I will
to LNO and CLC?
to LNO. CLC understands this.
Okay,
So that's a motion.
Yes.
I'll second. All in favor?
I,
I think I.
Don't understand. I have confidence
Don, you,
that it'll go the right direction. Susan's motion.
yep,
So the next item then is a cost sharing request for Black Earth Creek stream monitoring.
Yeah, I can say a little bit about this. Water Resources looked at this in the late fall, and then we sent it to Finance Committee with a recommendation for funding. Finance Committee tabled it or deferred it, but well, they tabled it and said we could bring it back as part of 2025 budget process. Both committees had similar questions about how the cost sharing allocations were developed and what other communities were contributing. Nick Bauer from CARPC is on the line, and so is Andy Morton. If anybody has any questions, I put in the agenda packets an updated cost sharing allocation. And I also put in an explanation that Nick had sent me explaining, how the cost shares were developed. If anybody did not review that and has questions for Nick, we can ask him. But it's the same request now. It's $8,000. Nick has reiterated that they will, it's not a hard number. They will accept whatever the city feels appropriate. And it's only for 4 years now, since we have missed the first year of the program.
I would make the same motion or a motion. If the city of Middleton commit $1,000 for the 4 years. And the reasoning behind that is very little of the Black Earth Creek watershed is within the city of Middleton's boundaries, and we should be paying no more than like the town of Middleton, which covers a huge amount of that land. Or the watershed covers that. What?
A lot more than us.
A lot more than us, yes.
I would second that motion.
Is there any more discussion on it?
I guess from Nick maybe or Andy, just I read the letter that you sent and a little bit of the study itself, but give me a 2-minute synopsis of what the purpose and full outcome of the monitoring will be.
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me okay?
A little bit louder.
Sure. This is Nick Bauer with CARPC. Happy to try and answer that question. Basically this is a creek that has been studied and monitored for a long time. Quite honestly, I don't know how far back data goes, but I know it's a very long time. Possibly 50 years, I believe, is the number I recall hearing. But basically the funding here is for continuing monitoring that has been done along the creek on 3 stations, and then expanding the capabilities at a 4th station to include water quality as well as the flow data that had historically been collected at that 4th station. So the project is to continue the monitoring effort that has been ongoing for a long time. And basically it's just, collecting more of the long-term data that allows, USGS as well as, various other organizations and entities to have the data and make more, educated and informed decisions on, whether it's other more, in the ground capital projects or, land use decisions or what have you. Or the relatively recent fish kill, they were able, USGS was able to look at the data on the creek and really have a really good idea on what had happened that led to that sort of thing. So one component of this, this current iteration of the funding package is that USGS will be doing some research with the data. So they will end up with some sort of a written report or research package of some sorts that everyone will be able to use and refer to. So
hi, this is Andy. I can add a couple of things. Thanks, Nick. I think one of the big things, why is it used? Why is it needed? The watershed, in my tenure and working with the creek since the 80s has really changed dramatically because of the, as you know, we have more development and the farming situations change. We have fewer small farms and larger farms. But just this past week with the rain, we had the DO, dissolved oxygen in the creek, was decreasing down below the criteria of 6 milligrams per liter. It was going down to 4 or below, which is not necessarily going to kill fish, but part of this is to keep tabs on and how we hopefully deal with increased development in the watershed. So the upper watershed is critical for that, and you're correct about the town of Middleton. And Middleton has not as much land, so we're trying to appeal, I guess, to all the watershed entities to each chip in some to manage the creek for the future. As you know, we're seeing increasing use, and it's becoming more of a regional destination, especially for paddling. So I forgot to mention I'm with Black Earth Creek Watershed Association. I used to be with DNR, but anyway, that's the reason why we're doing the monitoring.
Question,
Thank you.
what was the temperature when they took the dissolved oxygen sample?
Oh, the samples. Okay, that's a great question.
'Cause
You want to answer that, Nick, or do you want me to jump in?
please go ahead.
Okay, so the temperature is it's a continuous monitoring, continuous monitors. So the temperature range in the past, I can tell you that you can look it up. I mean, it's easy to look up 30 days. You can go back several years actually.
I'm talking about the specific sample, because as the temperature goes up, the dissolved oxygen will go down.
It's a
Right.
continuous monitoring station, right?
It's-
So
it's not a-
CPO,
It should be seeing a
Dynamic
shift like
shift.
that.
And you could click on the site and look at the data and see what it is.
But part of the problem is our high temperatures now.
Well, I can tell you exactly. This past week, it was between when we had the rain event, it was hitting 70 degrees. But normally at this time of year, it's probably, and you can see the site, it goes below 60. And this is for the Cross Plains Monitoring Station. It's going to be cooler closer to the Fescue Spring Complex, which is east of Cross Plains. It will range between below 60 to 68. And temperature is an issue, and that's one other reason for the monitoring station. So you're right, absolutely right about that, and you can see that in the signal from the creek. As the temperature went up, and that's one problem with runoff at this time of year. So the DO is at 4, like I said, in that range, and 70 during that rain event, but it actually went down.
It rose up, Randy.
Block out.
Nick, are you able to take over?
Is everybody locked in?
Okay.
into in the mid to
Lisa, how is audio on your end there? Are we all frozen?
No, I could hear, there, Andy's back.
Yep, Andy's back.
Andy, we lost you for a while there.
okay, sorry. I probably was talking too much anyway. But anyway, to answer your question, it peaked at around 70 during the rain events, and went back in the normal range when the water started going down, which would be in the 65, 60.
Andy, Susan's question was, what was the temperature when that grab sample for DO was
It
taken?
wasn't a grab set.
Wasn't it? It's a continuous map.
Continuous.
DO is
monitoring.
continuous
Yeah.
also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Oh.
it's not, yeah, it's going to be, when it was in the 4 milligrams per liter, it was in the 70s.
Okay,
We could scroll
But-
down, click on the site and look at it.
yeah,
I
Yeah,
guess
I mean,
my-
it's hard to pinpoint one number because it's kind of increasing as you have more runoff, and time of day matters also.
Well, I think my point was contaminants dissolved in the water will have an impact in addition to the temperature has a huge impact also.
Right,
And what I'm thinking is, I mean, the temperature, Middleton has so little of that creek within our city limits that these other municipalities are having a greater effect on the creek.
Well, that's true, except is that our industrial park is what contributes to that, and that's probably where we're gonna get the warmer water.
Well, the
Well-
temperature of the environment will give you the warmer. water.
The town of Middleton, most of that is, the water doesn't run off, it filtrates in the ground, becomes groundwater.
That's true.
Where state of Middleton has more overland flow potentially.
And what I'm saying is when the climate is warmer, the dissolved oxygen goes down.
Call the question.
Yeah.
You got a motion on the table, it got seconded, right? For that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, yeah, my thoughts on it were, we should support it, something less than the 8,000. I was thinking of a little higher amount than 1,000, but.
Yeah, that's 1,000 per year, you're saying.
Yeah,
Well,
Yes.
we can only vote on 1 year at a time, but
Yeah, 1,000 per year.
there
We're
is-
being equivalent to. I mean, we don't compare to the village of Cross Plains or the village of Black Earth because all of their stormwater is going into the creek.
Right,
Whereas here, I'm not sure in terms of the storm sewers in the business area, how much of that is going in, but a very small portion. And then town of Middleton has a lot of farmland, houses and so on contributing.
no question about it.
So in terms
The other-
of.
The other
damage-
alternative, of course, is the number of users that they use the creek for recreation.
Yeah, and again,
And Middleton has a bigger population, so we might,
we don't know what the number of users would be. And I'm also looking at this in terms of the city's overall budget.
well,
And,
1,000 or 2,000 doesn't make a heck of a lot of difference.
well, yes, it does. It can. So,
Okay, well, that was my opinion, but
Yeah.
we have a motion on the table and a second for 1,000, so. Is there any more discussion? If not, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
If I abstain,
just say nay. You can say nay.
you can abstain.
do we have a majority?
Abstaining,
if-
you're voting with the quorum, with.
If
the
you vote-
majority.
If you vote with the prevailing side, it gives you the opportunity to bring it up for reconsideration.
It's true.
Okay,
It-
But you also,
After the meeting,
by
I gotta talk about that one.
having worked with USGS, could abstain for that reason.
well, I have in the past, but I don't
Yeah.
really have to do it. It's been 20 years ago since I worked for it.
Right.
So. But I still,
Still good. Your email address still, doesn't it still say?
well, that's my official one, not my official one.
That doesn't matter.
So I'm emeritus scientist with him, so I'm still on the books.
Okay,
Okay, we've had a vote.
What was your vote?
I abstain. Okay,
Okay.
opposed, there is none, so the motion's carried.
Thanks, Nick and Andy.
Thank
You
you
bet.
all very much. We appreciate it.
Right, item 4.
Okay, item 4 is preliminary 2025 budget.
Yeah, so I can introduce this a little bit. So we have two budgets to consider, one for the stormwater utility and one for water resources. Stormwater utility is the big one. And there's two options for the stormwater utility budgets, one if the referendum passes and one if it fails. So there's a budget sheet for operational and a budget sheet for capital for each of these two scenarios. And then there's a fifth table that I gave you, which is the water resources budget, which only includes stream monitoring and then capital improvements, which are beyond maintenance. So this whole thing is following what the rate study presented as far as budgeting goes, basically. A couple of things. Overall, the options with the referendum passing for the capital budget, we're trying to tailor this to about 900,000 a year. And for the operational budget, we're also trying to target about 900,000 a year, which roughly matches the revenues we'd be bringing in at that $92 ERU rate. If the referendum fails, but we're targeting more like $400,000 annually for capital maintenance projects and about 225,000 for an operational budget. If the referendum fails, we're only going to be getting about 300 grand per year at a $15 ERU rate. So, with these two budgets, we would be eating into our balance that the stormwater utility currently has to the tune of $325,000 a year. The only thing I wanted to bring up initially was that in all of these budgets, year one, or I suppose the budgets with the referendum passing, year one is a little unrealistic. We're not including the fact it's going to take us a while to hire staff, gear up, equipment, if approved, wouldn't be purchased immediately. There'll be staff training time, so
So we're
the
gonna
first year.
accumulate more money than we need in year one.
Yeah,
Eric, wouldn't we be getting some of Public Works staff that already do these tasks? Just be transferred over?
It depends. It's up in the air. It's certainly a good possibility, yes.
And
But we would need to hire staff to replace them and spend time
that would be
training.
engineering hiring the staff that would,
No, we're
they came
all
to us.
kind of,
I know you are.
Is the option with the referendum failing budget numbers assume no general revenue source for support of these needs?
that's correct.
But in 2024 today, is there any general revenues funding for some of these activities?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
All the stuff.
No, because last year we made changes to the operational budget where we were covering this all with stormwater utility. I mean, it's much more messy than that, of course. Maybe a better way to think about it is if the referendum passes, we'll be pulling in some things that Public Works currently funds. And that would not happen if the referendum fails.
Okay,
So we
okay.
didn't.
And
so-
that's maybe $400,000
So-
per year, mainly leaf collection and street sweeping and things like that.
I got you.
So basically, we were able to, in this past year, to use the money from second referendum plus the first referendum for more standard stuff, you know, the street sweeping, that
You
sort of
can't, you
thing.
can't close the door, sorry. Right? Am I right about this?
Not completely.
It's an open meeting, there has to open at least some.
Partially.
People can get in,
Somewhat.
they just can't get out.
Yeah. What's-
I heard that happened.
Like the Hotel California.
Come sit at the table, be closer, that's fine.
Yeah, have a seat.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
I understand what you're saying, Eric. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay,
How many more years of adaptive management go on?
Correctly. Yeah, I
Well-
don't know, was it 25 years?
Was it that long? I thought it was,
I don't know, I can't answer that question off the top. of my
yeah,
head, but
I thought it was shorter than that, but
It might be, but we might be some years into it, so yeah, I mean, it might be the 25, but it might not be that much left.
it doesn't matter. So what do you want from us tonight? You're just information policy on this or?
Well, this is just the first draft and I'm looking for any comments.
I've got a comment, at least on if the referendum fails. We could always ask all of the capital projects to be considered with all the other cities' capital projects. And not use any money from that original, the $15 per year stormwater utility to cover the ongoing street sweeping, that sort of thing.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying. The capital projects, if the city wants, could come under their.
Under
capital
the
improvement
regular
program,
capital, like they
and
used
they
to.
found it and they pay for it under general revenue.
Yeah, just like they always have, or did in the past.
Yeah,
As long as council will agree to fund them.
right. So,
When I started the utility before, council was not funding those because it run out of money by the time they got to W.
that's understandable. Lisa,
Thanks. I have a couple of questions. So Eric, could you go to page 33 of the packet?
Yeah.
It's the 10-year capital budget request.
You know,
Here it is. So according to this, if the referendum passes and we devote $99,000 to deferred projects, it'll take 5 years to clear that backlog.
That's the estimate from the rate study, yeah.
And on page 37, or page 35, it shows that it will take 99 years, or if you do the math, if only $5,000 per year is devoted to catching up on those projects, it'll take 99 years to do that. So that's a problem.
That's just one element of deferred maintenance, really. I mean, all of these projects are kind of deferred maintenance, Lisa. That's just ditches and culvert outfalls and things like that, so.
And your revenue estimate for if the referendum fails goes back to the $15 per ERU, correct?
Right.
I had a question on page 37. Can the Confluence Pond expansion wait until 2030?
yes, my opinion.
Okay.
The South Pond expansion.
No,
No, these South Pond
Oh,
well,
I see.
excuse me. Yes, everything kind of, we just moved it back to try to make this work. I think you're aware that staff is having trouble, really making progress in any of these projects. But yeah, the expansion is something that would help, for flood control, might help with our water quality, something that should be considered. Why this is in the water resources budget. It's not a It's not a maintenance project, it's an improvement project.
And Eric, how frequently do you need to, for good maintenance of the Confluence Pond dredge yet?
I think we estimated 15 or 20 years when
It
we
was
did it
last-
the last time.
Last
which-
time was about 2013.
No, it was like 2016. By the time it got-
By the time it got done, we
Yeah.
budgeted it for it in 2013.
It also depends on how much sediment is deposited there.
Yeah,
That
Right.
depends on the
well, I was just
hydrology. or what-
remembering it was
what
2013.
happens during the years, yeah.
And there's still a project, you know, to remove the sediments that were dredged at that time.
Yeah, because we left them out there.
Oh,
We know if the 2018 flushed out the pond or whether it deposited more sediment.
I don't think we know that.
We don't know.
I don't.
Certainly sure.
We haven't surveyed it or anything.
No, I know. So it's very hard to judge a time.
Yeah.
There's too many variables.
It's been enough now that it's probably silted back in since if it did scour.
Yeah.
in 18.
I don't think Lisa was finished.
No, that's fine. I did have one more question, and that is the flood reduction project. I know it says TBD. Is that by any chance maybe something that we would do in conjunction with the town of Springfield?
Oh, it could be, yes. I mean, the intent would probably be within the North Fork watershed.
Okay, I would just like to make sure that there's somewhere in this first 5-year period that there's some funding tentatively budgeted so that we can follow through on whatever we come up with the town of Springfield.
Well, at least if you find something for flood reduction or water quality improvement in the North Fork, there is funds in our fees in lieu of funds that we could use for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Our intent always was to look at some spot for fees in lieu of money to be spent to enhance water resource, whether it flood reduction or water quality improvement.
what's
okay,
the-
great.
You know, the number in the fees in lieu of balance about,
300,000 to 400,000.
Yeah, I'd say 400 perhaps.
it's a chunk.
Is Madison doing enough to manage the stormwater that comes in on the South Fork, both in terms of quantity and quality?
We have been having conversations with them, and Steve Gaffield with EOR should be back next month with. Well, no, excuse me. He'll be back next month with an amendment to look at the town of Springfield things. He is using part of the last amendment we gave him to look at what
Madison.
Madison is up to.
Because
He has updated information from Madison and he's
Yeah, 'cause
analyzing
the damage from Madison was huge.
oh,
With
So, yeah, they are opening up the culvert beneath Deming. So, yeah, that's the concern, but they've also, in the interim, they've done a couple of projects that.
Yeah, are they
are helping
diverting
us.
some?
No, there's no diversion,
Okay,
but
But they-
west of Pleasant View Road, they did a nice project.
yeah,
and that is for the South Pond. I don't know if there's no way to predict this, but I think the door is open to negotiating with Madison to cost share something there.
yeah,
Um,
I think
So that cost maybe not, less than what the estimate is right now.
In our negotiations with Madison on the South Fork, I thought about maybe they should help pay for the monitoring on the South Fork,
Mhm.
since they keep track of it
yes,
after our TIF money runs out.
That's a good idea.
yeah.
When does that happen?
I think 2020. Sure, I think after one more year.
I'm not sure about that. There was an option to extend the TIF for a year. Lisa, do you know the answer to that question?
We we're going to close it early and extend it for a year. Wrap your brain around that. But yes, we are going to, we're talking about closing it early, but we also want to be able to extend it for 1 year and use that last year of increment to pay for affordable housing. So looking at Bill Burns, by the way, Eric, you might want to share with Bill Burns your estimate of it's a little over $400,000 that could be shifted from, well, maybe not all that is shifting from the general fund, but Bill only showed 100,000 in his budget presentation. Looking
Maybe
for
I don't want to share that.
Well, no, I mean, and if it's possible, that's important to know.
Right.
So in 2025, we've got the stormwater utility referendum. 2026, there's talk about possibly another operating levy limit. In 2028, we would get a levy limit adjustment from the early TID 3 closure. So that means I believe that means we would be closing in 26 or 27, taking that 1 year extension, and then we get the levy limit adjustment. But I can double check with Bill to get the exact timeline. And council hasn't made a decision on either closing it early or extending it for a year for affordable housing, but next year we need to make a decision.
So for funding of gauges, we're looking at 2026 would be the last year. Through TIF.
Okay.
Through TIF 3. If I'm understanding you correctly, Lisa. Because that final year of the TIF would not.
I thought next year was the last year to incur any costs.
Oh, okay.
So the minutes will reflect something to the effect of that. City and staff should consider talking to Madison about possible sharing of or funding of a monitoring station in 2026. Let's have that a topic.
We'd also might want to look at adaptive management to help on the North Fork. Since they're interested in the data, whether they're going to include it in their studies or not, I don't know. But Todd always talks about it, so.
Do you mean Yahara Winds?
Yeah,
Okay.
So I'm not sure what you're saying, Warren.
well, they're funding like 5 gauging stations and we're picking up all of that North Fork.
The city of Madison is funding those
No,
things?
no.
Middleton.
The Yahara Winds is funding, we're helping fund the gauging stations and so are their communities.
Okay,
We could ask that pot of money to maybe help us on the North Fork. Since we've been doing it ourselves. How much they're gonna include the North Fork in their study, I don't know. But since there are 2 digesters in the North Fork, there might be some benefit to that. To see if sediment or phosphorus is being removed. Do we have to do anything else with these budgets then, or just, there's no recommendation or motion you need, right?
Well, we'll take all these comments and try to incorporate them into the final round for your approval or recommendation of approval of the request in August.
Would we send both through for approval? Because we won't know what the referendum.
That's what council want.
Remember, and if
Right.
that goes to the general public, they will say, well, they're ready either way. That would be my concern is, what way are we gonna go?
That's a valid concern if you've got a very knowledgeable citizen that knows how to go through our budget documents.
Well, they're not gonna be knowledgeable at all. They're gonna look at.
Well, if they even look at
cost, they're
yeah.
not even gonna say no.
it.
I honestly don't know how this ends up getting presented.
Yeah, that would be my concern. How is it get presented?
So how the general public's gonna look at that, because we have 2 alternate budgets.
Well, if it gets approved, yeah, they're gonna look at it. take a look at it.
But the
today.
budget doesn't start to January, so we'll know in November which way we're going.
Correct, but
No,
we
but-
need to approve the budget before then, right?
Yeah, it's.
But no, we'll know, council will make the decision, we'll approve the final budget in November after the election.
Okay. Okay,
And I did check, Eric, and the final date to incur any TID project costs is September 30th of 25, with or without the affordable housing extension.
Number 30th.
All right, thank you.
What date?
September 30th.
2025, so 2026, we need new funding for the stations. It's not gonna be TIF.
Yeah. I guess when the funding agreement's signed by the year ahead of time, I don't know.
I don't know. You know that better than I do.
Yeah, and they have flexibility, but
Yeah, I mean, we are paying for services, Lisa, you know, for the full year, well before September. Does that work? Does that take us through 2025? Nope, you're muted.
You tell me. So paying for services to like beyond services paid before September 30th, but services that will extend beyond the 30th? I don't know. That's a question for Bill Burns.
All right.
Just a minor bookkeeping, Eric, you'll adjust the Black Earth Creek stream monitoring costs you got up there.
Yes,
Based on today's-
yes.
Yes.
you know, you have to realize a lot of these things like the Confidence Pond expansion and the South Pond are estimates if it's feasible. You have to do a
Yes.
study first to see whether it's even practical to do those things, so
Yes.
expenses may not occur.
But they're good.
This is our best guess, and it is certainly a guess.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything else? Yeah, is that all you need, Eric? Then,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay, last item, well, item 5.
okay,
This is just a general discussion about information that we're providing or want to provide, both just in general and as related to the referendum. So the first thing was a list of documents that are, you know, historic reports initiated by the city that Warren provided. Some of those are on the website, some are not. I asked the commission to play around with the website and inform us as to all of the issues. Item 2 was the informational flyer that you saw last month, a couple months ago. Lisa already made a comment on that we should update it to include the referendum language that council approved, which we will do. Any other comments are welcome. Good. Item 3, if everybody doesn't know, we have use of a billboard along Highway 12. You know, it's a digital display that cycles through things. I'm not sure, you know, how many minutes per day we get, but I reserved 2 different weeks to, you know, advertise the referendum. Remember, we're not advocating. We can only kind of give information.
And the one problem is it's located by mounds, so. Not,
Oh, located by this,
Yeah, it's on
Permit.
Highway 12,
Not the
Okay.
14th.
14.
that's 14, okay, because when that one, the one by mounds, we also got some use of it too. Okay, but the bigger problem is either one of those are on the outside of the city.
it's in the city, one on 12.
Well, it's on the edge of a city where Do you
I
ever
don't
ride
think the
out
bill,
there?
frankly, I don't think the bill was a very good
Yeah.
venue to try to get a referendum-ish.
I
message
agree
across.
with you. That's what I'm saying is.
Yeah, it's
The
just,
majority of citizens will never drive by.
well, even if you do drive by and try to read something, you got 4 seconds to read it, and
Yes,
what are you gonna tell them in 4 seconds?
right.
If you pay attention for 4 seconds and not ran into somebody on 12.
Yeah.
Can you go to,
So-
take it one item at a time? Can you go to one and just go show those references? So I thought it was worthwhile to put together, because I've searched myself on sites that I've want to look at the reports and have a hard time finding sometime. So I thought it'd be a good idea to put them all in one place. So if people want to look at these references or reports that we used years ago, they would be able to find them easily. And so the first one is the stormwater ordinance, which we're going to be revising in the near future. And if you're familiar with the site to go to ordinances, you get it, but I thought it'd be easier to go to some site that's clickable and it would come up. The second one is that study report that I did for Stormwater Journal. It's a quick overview of the stormwater management program and what we've accomplished, and with the load reduction and flood peaks and effective urbanization, and really the value of a long-term database. So if you want a real quick synopsis of what's taken place, that's a good source to look at. It's easy reading. The second one is the groundwater flow model, and I put that on there because Middleton contributed towards it. And if we're going to look at some of our wells, which we are, because maybe we're having a salt problem, it's good to know the stratigraphy of the geography of the geology in the area. And that's a good source for to look at the sandstone and the shale and how our wells are penetrating within the aquifers. And then the next one is a more comprehensive report that we did with Herb Garn on the stormwater management activities, which goes in more depth than the stormwater magazine, but covers a lot more territory, includes salt runoff. And then we had 2 studies on the North Fork, one done by Jeff Stoyer on the watershed modeling, the effects of urbanization. That was a forerunner of some of the work that MSA did, trying to identify sites that were possible for looking at flood reduction or infiltration. And one by Randy Hunt is looking for the recharge area. There's concern for Pheasant Branch Conservancy what the recharge area for the springs were. And that really identifies that area that we have to really protect. And also gives you a background looking at the geology of the area and the aquifers. And then as I mentioned, see, go down a little ways further. I thought, the 3 pond studies, we talked about that in the early studies, looking at Draper's Pond, Strickers and Tiedemann's. And some of these maybe other studies have made them irrelevant, and that might be one maybe not provide the information. The other one is that we probably was done on the channel morphology and looked back at 2 different surveys done about 5 years apart to look at how much erosion was taking place in channel enlargement. So they had cross sections that were established and measured them twice. And there was a lot of downgrading that was taking place and expansions of the channel. So it was interesting base flow data that helped us really look at how sensitive Pheasant Branch was. We kind of knew that, but that put some numbers to it. And then the one that surprised me is that one of the early history of Pheasant Branch watershed that was done on the North Fork plant study. And I know that Jim and Lisa are going to be talking to the town of Springfield, but it gives you some background information. And it was a more comprehensive study. I don't remember seeing that report, but it was 1994. Do you remember that report?
Vaguely, I'm come across that, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of good information there for background information. And it gives you the history of Pheasant Branch, how it was started too. And I remember it was Lake Middleton and they migrated peat, but they talked about initially water was going into Pheasant, Black Earth Creek.
Yeah.
Until it was opened up in 1870 or something like that to drain into Lake Mendota. So there is a history of naturally of water going to Black Earth Creek watershed instead of. Probably wouldn't occur if we did it again today, but
This, yeah, that channel,
yeah.
didn't exist.
But I thought that was a good report for Lisa and Jim to look at.
Yeah.
Along with that Frederick Springs study in the North Fork, so. It just, and I, going through it the other day, I came across, just today, I came across a stormwater quality plan that I just mentioned. That's in our site in Middleton's water reports.
The 2007.
The 2007 one, and like I said, it's been updated, but I think the plan was to make all these reports in one site, one spot, so people could click on them and get them easier than trying to search through a Google search and come up with them. And they get them clickable, so they're easy to come by. So. In the one I just passed out, I also included how to get to USGS water data. So if you want to click on that and get real-time stream flow data or data, you can look at Pheasant Branch to see how much rain we get in the past storms or what the floods storms are doing. So I don't know if people want to do that or have done that in the past, but when it rains like mad, sometimes it's interesting to see how fast the streams rise and how much rain we're getting because it's 15-minute lag, and so it is real time.
The live camera too.
There's a live camera that shows picture of the stream. And I never have gotten much out of that, but at least the one on Pheasant Branch doesn't do much for me. Some other ones like the Namakagon River is kind of pretty to look at. The one on Middleton, yeah. But I've never seen it flood either, so. Okay,
Well, I know we also need to put up the rate study and probably develop a page just kind of devoted to the stormwater utility referendum.
Eric, I've got a bunch of comments, I think on the flyer, but I think the one thing that needs to be made real clear.
so moving on to number 2. Well,
Yeah.
okay,
Well,
okay.
Yes, okay. One of the things that needs to be made real clear is the average citizen is clueless about what a stormwater utility actually does and that there are federal guidelines we have to meet in terms of water quality, in addition to controlling flooding. And we don't give them a good idea of what a utility actually does. And the pictures then, because they're all storm drains or one flooded road, are very misleading. So they need to see some of these other
And
features.
if you can get some more, frankly, impactful pictures of.
Yeah,
flooding,
impactful
Flood damage or.
flood damage. And I mean, for example, in Middleton Hills, Kevin Munson is taking pictures of birds and he took them down there, and I mentioned our stormwater detention ponds, and there was a resident that was just irate because those are not stormwater detention ponds. This is what a citizen thinks.
Yeah.
And so
They didn't ask me, Susan, so.
they didn't ask you. But anyway, but what I'm saying is the average citizen is pretty clueless, and they think the only thing is the water goes in this rate and it goes somewhere
Disappears.
and it's gone and there's not a whole lot of cost.
Every annual meeting, I tell them it's a stormwater treatment facility.
Yeah, it is. But we need to,
It's done too nicely. That's a run. It should have been rectangular.
Yeah.
That's around it.
Kind
And the sign posted it said, this is
Yeah.
a stormwater treatment. facility.
Yeah. As well.
but
Yeah.
citizens need to understand there are all these storm sewers, they need to be cleaned out, they get filled up with stuff. And I saw one on my way here that really needs cleaning 3 feet all the way around it. It's piled up
I
with
think,
brush.
yeah, I would, some kind of paragraph that just simply says the city is responsible for what you said, Susan, a whole host of stormwater program
Yeah,
activities or
and
infrastructure. and-
Where would you put that under
Regulations.
basic?
Right up front, I
right at
think.
the beginning, because
Yeah,
you've got to, they need to know what a stormwater utility is doing and why things like street sweeping is important for stormwater. They probably are clueless on that.
And you can't, I know you can't put everything in there. It's gotta be concise. It's
Yeah.
gotta be in minimal words and all that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I've got some edits that will take out words here and there, but that was the big thing I saw that was missing.
Okay,
the city does have a public information person of some sort.
Yep.
Yes,
Did
Yeah.
they take a kick at this or?
yeah, Brent did massage this. I mean, it's modeled on the one that we did in
Yeah.
2014.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
pictures have already been switched out.
Okay.
and We're
Good.
just not seeing them.
okay.
You know, trying to keep it to 2 pages
Oh,
or
yeah.
one double-sided
Yeah,
page, so
that's
we
nice.
can't jam everything on this one document, but we can certainly provide all kinds of information, different levels of information that you can dig into,
yeah.
you know, on the web.
Mhm.
And there's one other issue, and I don't know if we want to go into it. Is, and this gets with just the city's levy, for citizens to understand that we cannot raise the levy unless we get, except for what's generated by new construction. And the average citizen doesn't understand.
You got that right.
Absolutely not. They're clueless.
They're clueless that we've been covering inflation since 2010 with new growth. And if they understand that, they suddenly eyes light up and they understand stuff,
I have
but
conversations all the time at work. How the levy works.
I haven't.
I don't know if we want to mention
No,
that.
I don't
anymore.
know. You just start putting,
To stormwater. I don't think
I
that's-
know.
yeah, you put the levy in there and they're gonna roll their eyes.
We've
Like
got
I would
levy.
too.
We've got levy mentioned at the beginning. Or a look, there's somewhere in here, it's,
It is, there is a comment about that.
It's creating the ERU, raising the ERU
Mhm.
in lieu of not increasing the levy limit
Yeah.
or lowering the levy limit.
Yeah.
Second of all.
Based on the
and
difference.
the reality of what this is going to do is free up money so that public works can do the things they haven't been getting done.
So what's the intent? Where would, I mean, I can see this being a PDF on their website. I get that. As far as hard copy, if there's gonna be a hard copy.
Water bill,
Or we can mail it to every resident.
yeah, it gets.
Oh, yeah?
Mhm.
Is that separate from the water bill?
Yes,
Yeah. Not everybody gets a water bill.
Yeah.
Most of the people in the city don't.
Right.
Since renters are 55% of the city.
Yeah, that's true,
Okay, so if it gets mailed, that certainly is a good coverage.
Yeah.
yeah,
Do we have to pay for that? Obviously.
Yeah,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah.
You mean, do we have to pay? for it?
I mean, the city has no real break on rates for that, do they?
Well, we're all your credit card.
we might get a bulk rate.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah,
Well, if you,
If you don't send it first class, you know, so it might take 2 or 3 days instead of a day.
so you're talking
Few cents.
$5,000 or so probably.
Yeah.
bulk inspection, then you don't worry
Yeah.
about particular.
5 or
investments.
10,000.
Yeah, I would guess, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think you gotta do it. I don't see any way you're gonna get to people in apartments. And then you gotta,
Yeah, I think we had
Yeah.
$25,000 in the budget for
okay.
a referendum consultant, which we never hired. So there is
So we
money
got
available and there's stormwater utility money.
So my question would be then, well, I agree, mailing is the only way they're gonna get it. Because now Public Works sends out their newsletter, just email. If you're not on the email list, you don't get it.
So mailing is essential.
So mailing would be essential and then. Sorry, I just junk mail,
Well, I have realized that, but
especially if it's a bulk rate.
if you catch,
That's about the only mail I get is
Yeah,
just.
yeah.
email.
Yeah.
So.
Just so we're aware of.
if you're getting 10 to 25%, that's That's like maybe the best they can hope for, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But are there other email lists, groups
the
that,
whole email thing, do renters get that? I mean, they'd have to sign up.
They
for it
have,
if they want
it's,
it.
if you've signed up, you
But do
get it.
renters care to sign up?
Some might,
Some do.
but probably majority don't.
You know,
Well, in the city of Milton, say what would you sign up for? You don't want every email for everything.
Lisa, you have an email list for your district. Do all the alders have do that?
No. But I will be covering this. I already did in my July.
Yes, I saw
newsletter.
that.
Yep, and I'll be covering it every month this year, so that's one option. I do like the idea of a mailing because I get a water bill, but I get it electronically. So I don't I have time to go in, pay my bill and get out. I don't poke around and read PDF of the file that's there. So I think a mailing is essential. I would love to find out what the Friends of Pheasant Branch Conservancy are planning to do so that we can, I don't want to we can't partner with them, but we can coordinate dates so that, for instance, I noticed the next, or item 4 is public information meeting. I think it would be really good to have a public information meeting or two after the Friends have a meeting if they're going to do that. Because then we'll be able to do a better job anticipating what some of the questions might be because we can observe what happens at Friends meetings. But yeah, for the operating costs referendum in 2022, a few of the alders held public meetings in their districts. I attended a couple, I didn't hold one here. I attended a few and they weren't very well attended. So I think there's got to be a better way to get information to people. If we do have more than one public meeting, I think it would be a good idea to offer one on Zoom or hybrid so that people can tune in without having to come to City Hall or wherever we might
Or
have the
it's
meeting.
so could be tuned into.
Lisa, are you asking if the Friends contact people would talk to you directly about what they have in mind?
I would love that.
I will pass that along.
Thank you.
I've talked to Herb Garn a couple of weeks
I
ago.
know, they want to work with the city, so it's not like
Yeah,
it's.
so, but he was talking like social media is gonna be one of the things they
Yeah.
use. And they have good contacts in social media.
Yeah, they got, yeah,
They
Friends.
do.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were essential for getting the first.
But they say,
referendum
I know,
passed.
but the things have changed now. It got so many people in apartments.
They're still on social media.
They're still on social.
I know it's
media.
social media, but what are they talking about? YouTube,
Friends, Facebook pages, Instagram,
Yeah.
all the stuff I don't use.
yeah. Like, they wouldn't get to me.
The Friends know how to get information out and they were essential for that first referendum.
They developed a plan, I can tell you that. They've got a public information person, PR person lined up. And they are making a schedule to conduct an information campaign.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to have them sit down with city reps to say, hey, here's what we're doing. Is there anything we can collaborate on or whatever?
Yeah,
And if they do as good a job as they did before, we'll get it.
well, it's a
Still,
different, if
general
it's a different
election.
dollar amount, 15 versus 95, so,
And it's
Yeah,
also
but
a
I think they-
general election,
yeah.
which means everybody, well, majority are gonna vote as opposed to like if it were in August.
18%.
Yeah.
Could we have done it in August or next April?
We could, but this is when you'll have a better chance
Yeah.
with,
We can't do it in August because the ballots are.
Yeah, no, I know, but we could have,
yeah.
or next April.
Yeah, well, the second one we did in March or the April election.
I think, like you said, you're gonna have much more people show up, and if they look at it for the first time and see a referendum, yes or no,
Yeah,
there are gonna be a lot of people who have never, don't have any idea what we're talking
the
about.
schools avoid referendums on the general election day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, when you
Yeah.
compare the original one, which was done, I think in the fall, was 67% approval. The one for the stormwater, which was done in April, was 75% with minimum publicity on it.
But I think people are getting accustomed to voting no for referendum these days with
Yeah.
some of the crap that's been floated out there.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
another issue.
So if they don't know anything about it, which way they're gonna vote, my guess is there's a good chance they'll vote no.
Correct. And the
Yeah,
majority still.
but
vote
that's
no,
why we
just
send
like
out
what
the
we do.
publicity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it works. Yeah. Okay, is there anything else we need on this, Eric?
Susan, you're gonna get your comments to Eric?
Yeah, do
On
you want
the
me to
side.
come in and give them to you?
Any way you want. I mean, if you can scan it, send it in, that's fine. If you want.
That's harder for me.
well,
I will come in.
Drop in. And maybe tell me when.
Yes. When would you like me to come? I'm available in mornings.
Mornings are good. Early.
Tomorrow,
uh,
Friday? Monday?
Tomorrow's fine.
Okay.
I don't know about Friday or Monday, but I know I'm pretty,
Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
okay,
Eric, I'll email you some comments, probably Friday.
good. Okay,
Anything else?
man. Last item is just, future items for a future meeting.
We had some recommendations the last time around, looking at the salt problem. So we have a plan to bring that up.
Thought we left that with, you were gonna talk to
Randy Hunt,
Randy Hunt.
I emailed him, he didn't email back, so I don't know. We don't. I think, I just want clarification, but looking at those reports, we know where the wells are cased and where they're not, and I think, we probably have information we need, at least to talk in generalities about it, what the problem is.
All right,
It's not a big topic, I mean, it's not a long time.
And Eric would.
Oh, I don't know, I don't know what happened to email. Randy always responds back. I was maybe going to the office next week, and if he's there, I'll talk to him directly. But with COVID, right now, people don't go to the office, so it's hit and miss.
I do have a pretty busy month in front of me, I think, with trying to get the referendum information and various data up on the website and, clean up the rate study and publish that and
Budget.
the rest of the. budget.
Yeah, I don't think it'd take, if you just put salt on there for the agenda item, we could talk about it with our wells and what we think the problem is, what Randy said. His impression was
Right.
runoff from the highway. Yeah. Okay.
Eric, would you put on there the fees in lieu of fees? They need to be raised. They haven't been changed. I don't know how many years.
Simple solution is to eliminate it.
Yeah. There's a few places.
Your only revenue source. Yeah, that's right. Best.
Yeah. Awful.
Is there anything else people want to see on the agenda? I think you had some topics on
You
there.
got a list on here. Where was that list you had?
In the minutes.
In the minutes, there's the
Okay.
list from last.
Yeah, okay, so that's still
Yeah.
legit, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It's there, and if you have information, you could forward it and we can try to get it in. Next month's real busy.
Is there a meeting plan with the town of Springfield?
There was a meeting held with Lisa and Eric and myself. They provided us, I'm gonna give you
All
a
right.
second, or is that not on the
No,
agenda?
it's not on the
Not on the
agenda.
agenda.
Never mind.
It will be here next month because
Yes.
we'll be getting an amendment request from Steve Gaffey, DOR.
Okay. Okay, if not, anything else? If not, the meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Too, Lisa.
Get back here. This to you before.